Storm, move. Oh, there we go. It's time for Shed Sunday. Well guys, it is Shed Sunday episode 2, and what can I say? The first one went down an absolute storm, so thanks very much for that, really appreciate it. Who'd have thought you could get nearly 16,000 views a week in your garden shed? Awesome. Thank you guys, thanks for your support. Now, there was so much feedback on that previous video. I actually took quite a while going through every comment and reading them, because in the previous video, if you've watched it, episode 1's in the video below, video description below if you want to watch it. I said to you guys, what do you want to talk about each week? And the topics you came through with were unreal. Hold on a minute, I'll have a look. I mean, there were so many questions. I couldn't keep track of it when it first went out. I couldn't keep track of it. There was over 271 of you commented, just letting me know what kind of topics you wanted to talk about, which was incredible. We had everything from knives, axes, like tools, tool maintenance, wild camping, bushcraft, survival stuff, fishing stuff. It was just, I literally was trying to go through it thinking, what can I talk about next week? But obviously, guys, I can't do every one of your questions in one video. I have to break them up and do it in, per week basis. But one of the themes I saw, and one I thought would be really good, was basically a couple of you said about fishing, and you wanted to know about fishing tips for beginners, general fishing tips, and things like knots and, real basic stuff. So I thought, why not base this Shed Sunday episode on my top 3 fishing knots? These 3 knots are definitely the ones that I use almost all the time when I go fishing, especially the first one. It's the one I use to put a hook on the end of a line. The other 2 I do use, not as often, but I do use fairly regularly depending on if I'm lure fishing or not. Either way, I do use them all the time. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'll show you how to tie them. Then we're going to come back in here. We're going to do a beer review. We're going to talk a load of rubbish, something else. Who knows? Enjoy it. Hopefully you guys can see this all right, but I've basically got a nice large sea hook here, sea fishing hook, probably 2.0 or 3.0 in my vise in the shed. This is obviously extreme size because I want to be able to show you guys as clear as possible. But first knot that is probably the most common knot I use is tying a fishing hook to the end of the line, and it's called a blood knot, or you can advance it and use a tucked blood knot to make sure that it's secure. But basically, feed the end of your line through the eye of your hook. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'll zoom out a little bit for you. So there's my tag end here. Feed it through the end of the hook, and then simply, I'm just making a loop, wrap it around. Here's my tag end. You just wrap it about 5 times, I like to do. So if I do it like this, 1, 2, 3, we can all count, 4, 5. There, 5 times. Now, at which point there's a loop just here. You guys can see that. There's a loop just here. Yep, the very first loop that you made, and you're going to push that tag end back through. Now, I could pull that tight now. I could pull it tight, and that would be what's called a blood knot. So I'll do that quickly. Obviously, wet it a bit. Give it some saliva so that it cinches down. There, and if I pull tight now, you can see it cinch down nice and tight there, and you can slide it down with your fingers as well just to help. That's called a blood knot, probably the most simple knot that I use to tie a fishing hook to the line, and then I would just snip the tag end like this so there's not much sticking out, and there you go. My line is now attached to my hook. Now, that can slip. If you've got a big fish on, that can slip. So what we do is we make what's called a tucked blood knot. So for the tucked blood loop, which just makes the blood knot a little bit more secure, we do the 5 times again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got my tag end here. That's going back through that first loop, like so. And now I've got a second loop, if you can see, if I let go of that, just here. And I'm going to come underneath and back through it. So back round there, back through like that, and then just cinch down, wet it. I'm still holding the tag end as well, you'll see. I don't want it to slip. Wet it, and then we can pull tight now, and there we go, it cinches down. and that's now a tucked blood loop or blood knot. Cut the tag end off and you have yourself a much more secure knot, and that's generally the knot that I'll use to tie a fishing hook to my fishing line. Nice and easy. The next one I'm going to show you is called the Albright knot, and Dad taught me this when I was younger. It's made by a guy called Jimmy Albright, or is invented by a guy called Jimmy Albright over in Florida. I think he's a fly fishing guide, and it's basically joining two pieces of fishing line together in a secure way. It's good for putting two pieces of fishing line together as well as attaching braid to fluorocarbon or braid to monofilament, which is this. So it's good for lure fishing if you want a leader. First thing I do with one piece of line, I'm going to make a loop, and I'm going to pinch it down here like this. If you can see that, made a loop, pinching down here. The next piece of line here is coming up through that loop, up through there, and I'm pinching it. If you look with these fingers here, I'm pinching it nice and tight there. Okay, so I've pinched it through the loop. I'm going to put my middle finger of the other hand through this loop and straighten it a bit, just because I'm going to wrap, if you guys can see, it's a difficult knot, but I'm going to wrap around all of these lines here with this tag end. And I'm going to do it 9 times. So coming round once, pinch it, twice, 3, 4, still got my finger in here in this loop, 5, 6, if it will go round, 7, 8, 9, there we go. So now I can take my finger out, if I can just get it out, take my finger out, and I still got that loop there, and this tag end is going to go through that loop, so I can use the loop if I want. Make sure the tag end goes through it like that. There, it's poked through, and now I must pinch this tag end there, at which point I can let it go back here, and you'll see that it's pretty much the same. It's got a tag end that's gone through the loop. So I'm going to pull these together, make sure everything, I'm holding every line here, both tag ends and both main lines, pulling it. Now I'm going to wet the knot, need to lubricate it so that it doesn't burn through the line and snap it and weaken it. Pull tight. At this point, when it's about there, I can let go. You'll see the 2 tag ends as I twist it, and I can pull, and that knot will cinch down nice and tight like that. Now clip it with some scissors, your tag ends, because they're not going to go through the rod rings if you wind it in. You cut these relatively close to the knot because you want the knot to be as smooth and unobtrusive as possible. There we go. That is the Albright Special, the Albright knot. Very, very good knot. Can be complicated to tie, but have a practice. It's really good. So that's one knot for tying your hook to the end of your line. That's another knot for tying 2 pieces of line together. The last knot I'm going to tie is one that's very effective for lure fishing, and it's called drop shot fishing. And what it is where you fish with your hook halfway up your line. So if you imagine this is my line going to my rod tip up here, the hook sits out like this on the side, and then the lead is actually right down here. So you're dancing your lure up and down above the weed, and it's a really, really effective method. I'll show you how to tie it, and then we'll get on to the beer review. Okay guys, you'll have to forgive me because the camera focus might go out a bit, but basically, to tie this knot, I've got a piece of line about 3 feet long. You can't see it, but it's 3 feet long. Imagine that. You're going to hold your hook like this, and you're going to put your line in going through the back of the eye of the hook. This is the front of the hook by the point. You're going to go away from the point. So push it through, and then pull at least half of that 3 foot line through. Then you're going to go back through again and pull this through until you get a loop that pulls on your fingers like that. It's just pulled on my fingers there. So effectively you're getting a loop, and your hook can slide along like this. At which point you're going to tie an overhand knot basically from one end to the other end of both lines. So I'm coming round and then under, obviously over, like an overhand knot. So it should look like that. I've got my loop here, I've got my overhand knot here, and the rest of my line is up here. Now don't pull that knot too tight. I'm just pulling it to about there to begin with, okay? Hopefully you can see that. Here's my loop. My hook is now going to go through that loop, and I'm going to aid this hook by going over the knot that's about to be pulled tight. So I'm pulling it back this way so it's over that knot. Now I'm going to wet it, and then at this point you can see I'm going to pull everything tight and it's all going to cinch down with that loop behind the knot. It has to be behind the knot. Pull it nice and tight. It's quite hard with this thick line, so I'm guiding it with my fingers. And there we go. It's basically a knot on the hook, but if I pull it, the hook is sitting to the side and away from the line. So I could have this end tied to my fishing rod, the tip of my rod, and then a couple of feet down is the hook, and then a couple of feet down here could be the lead. So that knot there was called the Palomar knot. There's obviously better tutorials out there on how to tie it. I'll actually put a link in the video description to the Palomar knot, or the drop shot rig, which is, I've done a much better video on how to tie it, and you guys can click that in the link below. And also the other knots, the Albright knot and the blood knot. Dad's done a really detailed video on fishing knots that I think has had nearly 1 million views, I think, over on TA Fishing. So if you want to learn how to tie fishing knots, he's got loads on there. I'll pop the link to the video in the video description below. That is basically the drop shot rig. See how that hook is just sitting out to the side like that? There, if I hold it over there, it's sticking right out to the side, and you can put a lure on that, and then you could jig it well above the weed, because you could have your lead down here, and you can change the depth of your lead to get the hook above however deep the weed is. So I could put it really shallow up here if there's not much weed, or I could put the lead down here, and then that lure will sit even higher above the weed. That is just tied probably with an Albright knot to some mainline. You may have noticed a new addition. Actually, I just literally, before I was going to film this Shed Sunday episode, the wide angle lens for the camera came through in the post. The postman knocked on the door and Jax went mental. And I had to run and get him before he went away. The postman was walking away with it. I was like, no, wait, please. And luckily he stopped. He came back to me and he gave me my lens, which I've ordered. Hopefully it's a bit wider for you guys, because last time I was sort of about here. Whereas this one, if I come right back, you can see more of my shed, because a lot of you said about seeing more of my shed. You want to see more of it, so we'll get there. We'll do a shed tour one day, maybe in the next episode of Shed Sunday. Who knows? Got some little ambient lights, little ambient. Love a bit of ambiance. Little, don't know, cheapy Amazon order, glass jars, bit of electric, and you've got light. Thomas Edison over here. Anyway, Camp Update 11 went down an absolute storm with you guys. Thank you so much. I was really blown away by all the kind feedback, the views especially. It's done really well, and just the general comments from you guys was awesome. It was really, really humbling. For those that haven't watched it, I thought I'd just sneak in the little trailer bit at the beginning, just for those people that haven't watched it. I hope you enjoy watching it, and then we'll come back here in the shed and we'll do the beer review.
Morning, longest day born anew, a cup of sorrow with the early dew. Come you endless morning, come and tell me what to do, 'cause I'd do anything for me. You get me up and get me through. Oh, 'cause as the seasons fade, I'll come back someday. As the seasons will fade, I will come back someday.
Seriously guys, seriously. So many of you, actually not so many of you, a few of you commented before you'd even watched the video, Mike, what are you wearing that weird mask for? And I said in the video, I don't get people sometimes, why do you comment before you've watched the video through? I never do that. I watch a video, then I decide whether I enjoy it or not. If I did, I'd probably leave a comment and just say, enjoyed that video, liked so-and-so bit. I don't get to the video, click on it, and then see the first 5 minutes and say, what on earth are you doing, man? Because generally people will justify themselves later in the video. But either way, thanks so much for watching Camp Update. It was wicked to make, really enjoyed it. It was a lot of work, and that hunting tower is so cool. I've actually already made another film there, which is coming at you guys soon. possibly in the next week or so, so keep an eye out for that, and I hope to make many more there in the future. Another quick tip, guys, fishing tip. This is insulation for piping in your house, generally house pipe insulation. You put it on your pipes and it stops your pipes freezing in the winter, and then you're getting a burst pipe and a water leak, which you don't want. But it's very, very common. It's really cheap generally. It's so light, and you can use it as what I call a rig roll. It's so cheap to make, and it's a great project for kids and beginners. But here you go, there's a rig roll, and there's loads of rigs that Dad's tied on there. These are like his shark rigs. But basically what you do is, it's got a split in it here. Here's my swivel, there's my hook. So this is a trace for a fish that you just tie onto the end of your fishing line here. Now you'd put that in, shut up dog, that's not my dog, he can be quiet. Put your swivel in here in the middle, like that, slide it in, and then you can close this. Then you simply wrap your rig around the tubing, the foam, like so. Then you end up with your hook here, and you just push that into foam for safety, and you have yourself a DIY homemade rig holder that is super lightweight. It's nice and thin and narrow, and it can go in your backpack. Really cool. You can get smaller versions of it, you can put smaller rigs on it, you can even chop these up and have individual rigs on them as well. Up to you how you do it, guys, but it's a really cool tip. Go and check out, I'll put a link in the video description again of Dad's how to make your own fishing rig holder. It's that time, boys. The beer review. And this week's beer review is brought to you by the Vibrant Forest Brewery. I got this down in the New Forest, one of the biggest forests in the south of the UK. This one is called Kaleidoscope India Pale Ale. And this is said can. The Kaleidoscope, pretty cool can, pretty funky. Bit of groove going on there, bit of hipster. Like it, multicoloured can. Yep, so it's an IPA, it is 6.5%. Drink responsibly, people. The sticker's actually not even on level, which is quite interesting, so the writing's a bit wonky. And it says here, Kaleidoscope, an India Pale Ale in the style of the great pioneering IPAs of the American West Coast. This is our flagship beer and has been a firm favourite since its inception in the early days of Vibrant Forest. Expect a massive citrus and pine aroma with immediate lashing bitterness married with glorious citrus and tropical fruit flavours. Mandarin, grapefruit, mango, passion fruit and melon collide on the palate in a kaleidoscope of flavour. The finish is a juicy hot bitterness that continues to warm the tongue long after this brew has uttered its last. Now actually, a couple of you guys in a previous video said, Mike, love the beer reviews, but we want to see how it pours. We want to see it in a glass. We want to see what colour it is. So, got myself a glass. Only a small one because a pint glass would make that look pretty puny and I wouldn't look like much of a man. So, got myself a little LSA glass here. Here we go. Beer review. Cheers, guys. Hope you had a good week. Hope you're enjoying Shed Sundays. Let's check out the aroma. That's very fruity. You can get a bit of citrus there too. That's good. This could be a good one. It's a bit a bit runny where I dropped it. Oh, up the nose. Watch my pouring skills. Whoa. Oh, can you guys see that? This is the old Kaleidoscope, hoping you can see it properly now. Oh, look at that. I should be working in a bar, man. Bit of a big head on that, but it is because it's quite fizzy out of the can. But mango and passion fruit. And there we go, for those that asked, that is the colour of the Kaleidoscope. Hopefully you guys can see that. I like it. I like it. Real bitter aftertaste, but... So if you guys are ever down in the New Forest, check out Vibrant Forest Brewery. I'm not sponsored by them. I paid for this beer. Oh, the price tag's not on it. I was going to tell you how much I paid. Probably a fair bit. But I do like the can. Well done. Credit to the artist. Like the can. Yep. I approve. I approve. It's their flagship one, so it's going to be good. Oh, also, I did set up a PO box. I managed to get one set up, and it's now up and ready, so you guys can send me stuff if you want to. Don't send me stuff that will hurt or kill me. But there's a PO box address in the video description below if you guys wanted to send me stuff. I can't promise I'll read out... Bum. That's a bit rude, sorry. Should have edited that out. I can't promise I'll read out all of your mail and things like that, or bits that you send me in one Shed Sunday, but hopefully over time it might build up and I can just read out some stuff and show you goodies that other people have sent me. I kind of want to change this, you can't see it. This area I'm sort of happy with. I've got my leather dies back there, I've got my general tools, cramp balls down here, loads of cramp balls, but this area of the shed, I kind of want to update that for you guys, you know. No one wants to see slug killer or ant powder. You know, it's stuff we all have in our shed, but come on, Mike. This is meant to be a studio. Got to up your game here. Got the axes, got the flag, got the candle lantern things. It somehow feels very posh drinking out of beer out of a glass. I do it when I'm eating a meal generally, but I don't know, guys, with Shed Sundays, let me know your thoughts. Do you want me to keep pouring it into a glass so you guys can see, or shall I just can it? One final thing, I'd like to give a channel shout out to a relatively new channel, but actually I've been following them for a couple of weeks now, and I'm really enjoying their content because I love building bases and camps myself, as you guys know. They're building a wicked base. It's like a treehouse shelter basically. It's a bushcraft treehouse, and it's really, really awesome. And they're based over in Canada. I think they're in Alberta. They're called BUSHCRAFT Heroes, and they're English guys over there, which is really cool to see. So please check them out. They've got an awesome project going. I'll pop a link to their channel in the video description below. If you like my stuff and my camp builds, you'll definitely like their channel. When they upload another video, put a comment on, tell them TA Outdoors sends you, and he sends his regard. They're awesome guys. Go and check them out. And also let me know in the comment section below, what do you want to talk about in next week's Shed Sunday? I need to know comments. I want to know what you guys want to talk about. It's not all about me. I'm taking comments from you guys, and then I'm going to work on bringing you some content the following week. So let me know. And if you want to send me mail, you know where to find me. Well, actually, sounds really bad. Don't find me. It's a PO box. It's nowhere near me. Cheers, guys. I'll see you next week on Shed Sunday. That is good. That's a wrap. Got work tomorrow. It's Monday.